So this is a shir on the topic of just one more baby, how having children hastens the redemption. It is sponsored by the Schrader family in loving memory of their father, grandfather, and great-grandfather, Yosef Tzvi ben David, whose yahrzeit is on the 16th of Av. May his neshama always have an aliyah, and may he continue to be an inspiration for everything they do. So we read in this week's Parsha, Parshas Ekev, amongst the brachas that Hashem promises us if we observe the mitzvahs properly, V'haya Ekev Tishme'un, as a result and after your observance of the various mitzvahs, we will receive various brachas. Lo yeh v'cha akar v'akara uvivhem techa. There will not be a barren man or woman amongst the Jewish people or amongst their animals. And this means neither by birth nor by illness, as the pasuk continues, V'heisir Hashem mimcha kol choili. Hashem will remove all illness from you, meaning to say any barrenness caused by illness. In addition to the simple pshat, as we have said that the pasuk was referring to barrenness, the Mefarshim also say other interpretations. The Medrash, the Yalkut Shimoni, says, your prayers will yield fruit. Your prayers will not be barren because they will be answered by Hashem. In addition, it is also referring, according to that same Medrash, to our students, that our homes will be blessed with students because a student is considered like a child. And finally, the Yalkut Shimoni in Parshas Noach says that it's referring to Torah study. The Baal HaTurim echoes that same concept because he says the gematria of Lo Yeh V'cha Akar pray Torah. Same numerical value as the words of Torah. So the Yalkut Shimoni says that not being barren, not having a barren person amongst you and your animals is referring to Torah study. That a person's Torah study will not be sterile. It will be productive. You will understand new insights in Torah. Not only the Torah scholars, but even the simple folk who in terms of their intellect might be compared to animals, they too will have insights in Torah. That cites the following story to illustrate this. Rabbi Yonasan was once traveling to Yerushalayim. Rabbi Yonasan lived several generations after the destruction of Beis HaMikdash. He was going to daven by the Koisel or wherever it was that people davened in those days in Yerushalayim. He had a simple Jew for a donkey driver. On the way, they met a Samaritan. The Samaritans had their own place of worship, they still have it today, on Mount Gerizim, where they would bring their sacrifices and whatever. So the Samaritan says to Rabbi Yonasan, where are you going? Rabbi Yonasan says, to pray in Yerushalayim. The Samaritan says, why are you going to the mountain that was destroyed if you can go to the mountain that was blessed? So Rabbi Yonasan says, what's blessed about your mountain? So the Samaritan says, well, the waters of the flood did not fall on our mountain. Rabbi Yonasan was astounded by this preposterous claim, and he had no response. The donkey driver said, if you give me permission, I will respond. So Rabbi Yonasan gave him permission. And the donkey driver said to the Samaritan, is your mountain a tall mountain, or is it a small mountain? If it's a tall mountain, well, of course it was covered. Because the pasuk says, that the flood was so tall that it covered all of the tall mountains under the heavens. And if it's a small mountain, well, of course it was covered. The Torah doesn't even have to say that. So he basically silenced the Samaritan. Rabbi Yonasan was so impressed by his donkey driver that he got off his donkey and he insisted that the donkey driver sit on it instead of him, and he acted as the donkey driver for the next 3 mil, the next 3 kilometers. Rabbi Yonasan said about this man, Lo yevacha akar va'akara uvivehem techa. You will be blessed amongst all nations. There will be no sterile male or barren female among you or your livestock. Even a person who may seem as simple as an animal, so to speak, will still be fruitful in Torah. Someone asked me, this seems like such an obvious response. Why did Rabbi Yonasan not think of it himself? It's possible that Rabbi Yonasan figured, well, they obviously have some kind of oral tradition that the Mabul didn't fall on their mount. And of course, we don't have that tradition. We don't believe in it. But how do you argue with a tradition? And the donkey driver, whether consciously or not consciously, his response was, you Samaritans, you don't even believe in oral traditions. So if you have it in the Chumash, good. But the Chumash says clearly otherwise. Since you don't have it in the Chumash, and you don't believe in oral traditions, so there is no basis for what you say at all. So the rest of this class will talk about the famous Gemara that says, Ein ben David ba acha tichla neshama min haguf. The son of David, that's Mashiach, will not come until all of the souls are emptied from the guf. The guf is the oitzer, it's the storage house of souls in heaven. The context of that Gemara is that there's an argument if a couple has children, but unfortunately those children pass away before they do, and they do not leave children of their own. There's an argument in the Gemara if they fulfill the mitzvah of pru urvu, of being fruitful and multiplying. Rav Yochanan says no, because you need l'shavas yitzar, you need a settled world. The children have to be alive, or their children, to settle the world. Rav Huna says no, they do fulfill the mitzvah, because he quotes this teaching, which is from Rav Asi, and he says that every child that is born hastens Mashiach. And as such, something was accomplished by the birth of that child, and therefore one has fulfilled the mitzvah of Peru Urvu. As far as why that storage house is called guf, why is it called the body of all things? Well, there are different interpretations. Rabbi Yonasan Eibeshit says that it has to do with the fact that all one. Just like all of the limbs in a body are one, all of the Jewish souls are really one. That's why we use the word body to describe where they are from. Another interpretation, based on the Sefer Hasidim and various Midrashim, is that the different souls actually are related to different parts of Adam HaRishon, the first man. This is a concept explained by the Arizal as well. Some souls related to his head, some to his body, some to his feet, and so on, some to his heels. And therefore they are kept in a storage house called guf, because their souls are related to the guf, to the body of Adam HaRishon. The Maharal of Prague explains that these neshamas that are going to be born in this world are related to their bodies, the bodies that they will be born into. They are a lower level neshama that is more closely connected to their bodies. But the neshamas that will be born in the world to come, those are a much higher level neshama. We're going to get to them later, we'll discuss them. They're a higher level neshama. They're not connected as much to their bodies, and therefore their storage house is not called guf. Finally, the Arizal explains that the neshamas that are born in this world, up until Mashiach, were all affected by the sin of the Eitz Hadas, when the first man and woman, Adam and Chava, ate from the tree of knowledge. As a result of that, they have a connection to the impure level of Noga, Klippas Noga, and therefore their storage house is called Guf, body, which is connected to that particular form of impurity of Klippas Noga. as far as why it is that the birth of the souls brings about the coming of Mashiach. So the Lubavitcher Rebbe explains that every soul that is born into this world represents a revelation of a unique aspect of the Shekhinah. When all of the souls are born into this world, then the ultimate level of the Shekhinah is revealed in this world. And as such, we have done our part to reveal as much as we can of Hashem in this world. And therefore, it becomes the time for Hashem to do his part and to reveal a much deeper level of the Shekhinah, which will happen when Mashiach comes. Another explanation, based on the Sefer Hasidim, is, as we said before, the various souls are related to various aspects of Adam HaRishon, the first man. All of these souls have to be corrected because of the sin that Adam did that plunged the world into the state it's in today of darkness and impurity. And we've been struggling ever since to overcome this darkness and transform it to light. When we do that, we will have rectified his sin, brought the world back to the state of the Garden of Eden, which is what is necessary for us to do in order for Mashiach to come. Now, the Arizal says that when we say all the souls have to be born into this world, it's not enough for them to just be born once. They have to come back again and again until they are fixed, until they achieve the rectification that is necessary for every soul. Because in fact, every root soul was already born in Egypt. There were 600,000 Jews coming out of Egypt, male Jews. Those were the root souls. So they were already born, but they have to be fixed. So various sparks of those souls, they come back again and again until eventually they are fixed. Sometimes just the birth of them is enough to fix them, and no more, not more than that is necessary. Sometimes they have to actually perform several mitzvahs, and so on. This actually relates to a Gemara that talks about the age of a child as far as when they are worthy to enter the world to come. The world to come is referring in this context to the resurrection. This is a Gemara in Sanhedrin, page 110b. From what age is a child meriting the world to come? One opinion is as soon as he or she is conceived, Misha Shenizra, and they bring a pasuk for that. Another opinion is from when the child is born. Another opinion is from when the child receives a bris milah. For a girl, it would seem that because every Jewish woman is considered to have a bris by nature, so therefore that opinion would say that for a girl it's from when she's born. Now the Vilna Gaon in his commentary on the Shulchan Aruch says that this is the reason why a baby that unfortunately passes away, a baby boy that passes away before the bris, is circumcised and given a name before being buried, because there is reason to believe that that will help the child merit the world to come, i.e. the resurrection. Finally, one opinion, Reb Meir, says that it's when the child says Amen to brachas. And there is one opinion that says no, when the child is old enough to speak. And as a result of that, we'll start speaking Torah verses. Like the Gemara says that the father should teach the child Torah and Shema and so on. So we see that just by being born or even just conceived, a child may merit the world to come. That means they are accomplishing something in this world. And it is possible that that's why they hasten Mashiach, because just the birth of the child is enough to rectify that soul to the extent that he merits the world to come. And as such, therefore, that soul becomes rectified and therefore prepares the world for Mashiach. It is possible that the opinion that says that a child receives a portion of the world to come just by being conceived, which would mean that even a miscarriage, a baby that is never born alive, even if the miscarriage occurs in the early parts of pregnancy, anytime after the child is conceived, that child already is going to be resurrected in the world to come. That means that soul is already perfected somehow just by the experience of being connected to a physical developing fetus, even for a short time. And according to that opinion, it's possible that that also hastens Mashiach because that soul has received its rectification. Now, the Gemara elsewhere says that when Mashiach comes, a Jewish woman is going to have a baby every day. Like the pasuk says, Hara v'yoledes yachad. They will become pregnant and have a child very close in time. Actually, the commentaries explain that it doesn't mean that the baby itself will come out on the same day, but rather she will have multiple babies inside of her. She will become pregnant on that day and have a baby that she had inside of her from before on a different day, much like a chicken that lays an egg every day, but there's like 21 eggs or so inside of the hen developing. In any case, Tosfos asks, if all of the souls are exhausted before Mashiach comes, well, where do all these souls come from after Mashiach comes? And he says that there is a new oitzer, there's a new storage house of the souls of the neshamas. And al pi Kabbalah, what this means is, the Arizal explains that the souls that were in Adam Harishon, that were invested in the first man at the time he sinned, they were affected by the sin. And they are all the souls that are born in this world. There were, however, souls that were not invested in Adam at that time, and therefore they were not included in his sin. I read in a later sefer that they were originally part of him, but when he decided to sin, they immediately flew away, so to speak, and therefore they were unaffected by his sin. And as a result of that, they are of a loftier spiritual stature, and that's why they are in a separate repository of souls. It's possible to connect this with the famous teaching that every Jew is connected to a certain letter in the Sefer Torah. As it says, Yesh Shishim Ribay Oisiyas La Torah, there are 600,000 letters in the Torah. Now, 600,000 is the same as the number of the root Jewish souls. So every Jew is connected to Hashem through a particular letter in the Torah. Now, the question is, the commentators point out that there are far fewer letters in the Torah than 600,000. The exact number, according to the Penine HaZohar, is 304,805. Sorry, the Netzutze Zohar. So how do you get to 600,000? There are various answers given. The Pnei Yeshua offers three answers. First of all, he says perhaps the Targum Onkelos is counted, the letters of the Targum Onkelos, because that was given at Har Sinai as well. Aramaic translation written by Onkelos the Ger. Another answer, he says, is that we count the letter twice, the way it's written and the way it's pronounced. So a letter that is only written but not pronounced, like a U or a E, so it's not like a V or a Y, right? So those Vavs and Yuds would only count once, and so on. And if there's a letter that is pronounced and not written, like sometimes we have a Kri or a Ksiv, that would also only count for one. But most letters would count for two. And that's how you get to 600,000. He also offers an answer, which is that you count the miloi of every letter as well. So an aleph would count for 3 aleph lamed pei. I'm not sure how we get to 600,000 from 304,805, because every letter has either two or three letters that they are made of phonetically. So the total would seem to be closer to 800,000. But in any case, the Alter Rebbe, the author of the Tanya, explains that we actually count the nekudos, the vowels, towards the 600,000. He says we don't know exactly which nekudos count and how much they count for, but the total number is 600,000. So now the Baal Shem Tov explains that we know that when Mashiach comes, is going to be a new Torah. Like Yeshaya HaNavi, Isaiah the prophet says, Torah chadasha me'iti teitzeh. A new Torah will issue from me. How can this be, says the Baal Shem Tov, when we know one of the 13 principles of faith is that HaTorah hazois lo tieh muchlefes, the Torah will never change. So he explains. And this is based on another concept, that Even though Hashem knows what we are going to do, his knowledge does not affect our free choice. He knows it in a way that is beyond affecting us. However, if a prophet gives a prophecy, that does affect us. Because once it's revealed to the world, it affects us. So the Baal Shem Tov says, how is it that the Torah says that we're going to sin? Individuals, communities. Why does that not affect us and force us to sin? So he explains that actually the original Torah was just letters. And the letters were not formed into any words. And it was only after the sin of the Eitz HaDaas that the letters formed into the way they are today. And perhaps the same can be said of future sins. So the Torah was like a raw blueprint that we are affecting as we go. Based on this, says the Baal Shem Tov, when Mashiach comes and we fix the sin of the Eitz HaDaas, then those letters will be rearranged to reflect the new reality. So now, going back to the souls, if every soul is connected to Hashem through a letter in the Torah, and those letters are actually changing, because when Mashiach comes, although we'll have the same written letters, but the nekudos will be different, the translation will be different, as well as the pronunciation. So according to all of those answers, it's going to have the same number of letters, but different ones. So all of the souls that are born then will have a different character based on that different Torah through which they will be connected to Hashem. The Lubavitcher Rebbe points out that since we know that we are so close to the coming of Mashiach, therefore, it's an awesome responsibility and great merit that every Jewish couple has to be able to be a part in bringing Mashiach by having as many children as possible. The Rebbe discusses reasons why some couples do not have as many children as they can, but rather some engage in what is called family planning and decide when to have children and how many to have, which is not the way Hashem intended for it to be, and is not the Torah's way. Why is it that they do this? The Rebbe says, different reasons. Perhaps they have the idea that they want to have the perfect child. They're afraid that they're not ready to have the perfect child. They're not ready to give him the time and the energy that he needs, the best tutors, the most attention, the best environment. As such, he may not end up so perfect, and therefore maybe they say it's better not to have him. Well, we see a story in the Tanakh that teaches us just the opposite. There was a king, an amazing king, Chizkiyahu HaMelech, about whom it says, he did what was good in Hashem's eyes, all like David did. He took away the idols and the high places, and so on. He trusted in the Hashem of the Jewish people. There was no king like him in Judea, neither before nor afterwards. Nevertheless, his uncle, the prophet Yeshaya HaNavi, came to him one day and said, Sav lebeischa ki mois tamos. Chizkiah was sick. Yeshaya HaNavi said, command your house, give them your last will and testament, because you are going to certainly die. You're going to die in this world, mois, tamos, you're going to die in the next world. Why? He said, because you're not getting married and having children. Now, Chizkiah had a good reason why he wasn't doing that, because he had a premonition, some kind of prophecy, Ruach HaKodesh, that his children would be wicked, which in fact they were. He had 2 children after he eventually got married, and they were Rav Shaka and Menashe. Rav Shaka died as a child. The story with that is that he was taking them to Cheder one morning on his shoulders, because he knew that they had a proclivity towards sin, so he wanted to do everything he could to guide them in the right path. So he was taking them personally to study Torah. And he heard one of them say to the other, wow, our father's head is so bald. It would be good for frying fish on it. And the other one said, our father's head is so bald, it would be perfect for sacrificing to an idol on it. he was so upset by those comments, especially by the second one, obviously, that he threw them off his shoulders. As a result of that fall, not intentionally, but nevertheless, as a result of that fall, Rav Shaka died. He was the one who commented about the idol worship. Menashe lived. And what did he become? The worst king of Judea. 52 years he reigned, and he brought idol worship into the Holy of Holies. He convinced the Jewish people to serve idols. He slaughtered 1,000 people every day until the city of Jerusalem was filled end to end with blood. What a wicked man. Good reason for his father not to have children. No, not a good reason, the prophet says. For that itself you deserve to die and not live. Why? Because it's not your issue. You have to do your mitzvah, do your best to bring up the children the best way you can, and that's all you can do. Don't worry about what's going to happen in the long run. In fact, even though Menashe was so wicked, but the Gemara says that he did do tshuva on some level. Some even say he got back his portion in the world to come. And perhaps more importantly, he was the father of Yoshiyahu HaMelech, who brought a tshuva wave to the Jewish people. He was an amazing king. And eventually, with Hashem's help, the progenitor of Mashiach. So therefore, a person should never say, I'm waiting for the perfect child. We see that you have to do the best that you can, and Hashem will help. Another reason why people perhaps wait and delay having children is because they believe that they can't afford it. Well, they should know that Hashem is the one who is blessing them, and Hashem is going to give them a better blessing and a bigger blessing through having that child. Each child forms a special pipeline of blessing that Hashem instills and blesses that family with. And finally, a person might think, I don't have the energy, I don't have the strength to take care of so many children and give them as much emotional energy and attention and love and care as they need. Well, we have to remember that Hashem created us and He knows us better than we know ourselves. And if He blesses us with the blessing of having a child, which is the greatest blessing of all, He knows, He must know that we have it within ourselves to educate that child and give that child the love and care that he needs. And therefore, we should trust in Hashem and go ahead and do this mitzvah in the best possible way. The merit of this, may the Jewish people merit to have Mashiach come speedily in our days, take us all to Yerushalayim, to rebuild the Beis HaMikdash, and be with all our holy ancestors very quickly now.